Oh, hey, look who's back.
What up?
One thing that I don't think I talk about very often on this channel, but one that probably will become more apparent as I hopefully get released some of the videos that I plan on making, is that I absolutely love shonen rom-coms. It was the genre that really opened the door for me to get into manga. Sure, battle shonens were my introduction to the medium of anime and manga, but rom-coms were the ones that really got me into researching and find lesser known gems and helped me discover just how much I really enjoyed manga. So I've always had a soft spot for series like We Never Learn, Quintuplets, Kami-san, and obviously Blue Box. And even recently, I found myself getting into shonen rom-coms from the 80s. I'm currently reading Kimaguri Orange Road. So when I learned about Himaten, the last manga of this batch, by mangaka Genki Ono, the first manga in the magazine in over 3 years, I was obviously quite excited. Not only that, but it seemed like a back to basics kind of manga, or at least a back to 10 to 15 years ago basics, as this manga, upon reading, feels very much like the closest thing to Nisekoi I've ever read. But we will talk about Himaten and Nisekoi later on the video, so for now let's actually talk about the story of this manga. Himaten gets its name from the main duo, the girl Imarine and the boy Tenichi. Tenichi is a boy who absolutely loves to do housework and chores. He goes around cleaning houses to get some money to save for college, and at the start of the manga he gets an offer to work on a really big house. But let's put a pin on that because the owner of that house will only be revealed at the end of the chapter in one of the most telegraphed plot twists in the history of storytelling. For now, we move into the school setting, where the Tenishi's class is getting a new student, the aforementioned Imari. Imari is a bit of a celebrity, bringing the present of her own brand of makeup that is incredibly popular among girls. Because Tenishi is the class rep, he gets in charge of taking care of the new student and showing her around, which isn't as easy as it sounds, as Imari doesn't seem very keen on having a boy helping her. Instead, just teasing him and telling him that she doesn't need any help, only to completely disrupt the entire school at lunchtime when everyone starts gathering around her. After Tenishi saves her from this situation, they both open up a bit and talk about themselves and their own goals. And then they have lunch together. It's the classic bonding that these characters need to have on the first chapter. But after that, we are ready to tackle the plot twist of the chapter, as Tenichi goes to the gigantic and incredibly messy house he was hired to clean, and it turns out that the owner of the house is would have Tunket Imari herself, as she is living alone and doesn't really know how to take care of a house, which I get it, and it's on that cliffhanger that the manga, or rather the first chapter, ends. So this is a classic rom-com. It's very simple in execution and plot, and it's very reminiscent of Nisekoi. So let's talk about Nisekoi. Nisekoi is a bit of a controversial manga. It was very popular and it dominated the genre in the 2010s, at least the early part of the 2010s, and a lot of people, including me, think very highly of it and consider it to be an important landmark in Shonen Jump's history. However, a lot of people also dislike it with a passion, and as someone who loves Nisekoi, I get it. It's one of the worst paced manga ever, and it's not in the same vein as like a Kami-san, where the plot just doesn't progress. No, in Nisekoi it does, but at the end of each arc it regresses in a very, very frustrating way. I've been really mad while reading Nisekoi. The reason as to why I've been really mad while reading Nisekoi is because the manga is genuinely good, at least when the mangaka lets it be. It's a manga with amazing characters, sleek art, and just great comedy. It's a manga that almost 10 years after it ended still has people arguing of which is the better character, Onodera or Wrong Girl. And if you got mad by that, that just shows how much Nisekoi has left a mark in a lot of us. In a way, it's easy to look at some manga that came after, like We Never Learn or Quintuplets, and see what they took from Nisekoi and what they improved from the formula. But we are 7 years removed from those manga and almost 13 years from the release of Nisekoi, which is why a lot of people are looking at Himaten and saying that the manga is outdated. Nowadays, the dominant style of rom-com is a style that I personally call wholesome fetishism. Basically, a boy meets a girl that has a particular trait, like she's very tall, or very shy, or very tomboyish, or sweats a lot, or blushes a lot, or has giant badonkadonks on her chest. and they just have a cute, wholesome, but still kinda horny relationship. And while some people can argue that Yumari's messy house is a bit like that, it really doesn't feel like it's gonna be one of her main traits, rather just a plot point that have those two interact, the same way that in Nisekoi, Shitose and Raku were forced to date, and that was the thing that got them together. That said, I don't really believe outdated is the right word for Himaten, as I don't think this kind of manga really ever feels old or out of place. They're kinda timeless, and even if you're not in the style that dominates the genre anymore, I still think that there's space for manga like Himaten in modern manga landscape. If anything, I think by having a style that was more common some years ago, there's a bigger chance to make a mark versus if it was released at that time, or at least that's what I would love to say. But the problem with Himaten is that it really doesn't do anything remarkably well. The thing that really saves Nisekoi, We Never Learn, or Quintuplets, and not originality, it's good characters and good designs as well. Yes, Himaten has great art and at least one cool design, the one of Himari. The rest of them and their characters just leave a lot to be desired. And yes, Himari is definitely the highlight here, but even then she is not really that much of an interesting character, at least as of chapter 1. Yes, she is kind of a tease and she has a deeper side, which is probably reflected in her asymmetrical character design, but both sides are just mildly interesting. Denichi is decent but nothing more, and the third character, which yes there is a third character, Kanai, just does nothing. Nothing in the entire first chapter, in a manga where it's clear that she's supposed to have the role of Onodera, the third romantic triangle in this manga, the girl that our main character actually likes in the first chapter in the beginning of the story, and she just doesn't do anything. When I look at the cast of this manga, all I see is bare bones versions of Rakugo, Shitose, and Onodera, and that's not good. That said, I do think there's still salvation in here, because it's not that the characters are bad, it's just they're not interesting enough yet, which can be solved with more time with them. However, while I left this manga liking it enough and wanting to see how it evolves, I'd also left wondering why would anyone that isn't as big of a fan of rom-coms like me read Himaten. Weekly Shonen Jump already has Blue Box, one of the better rom-com manga I've ever read in my entire life, and one that can definitely bring fans that aren't fans of the genre into the manga, unlike what I think Himaten can, and it's a manga that will likely dominate even more when the anime hits. It's a manga that scratched that itch for rom-coms, but also bringing something new and fresh to the genre. Himaten is a nice, comfy, and simple read, but why would Shonen Jump bet on that? Far better rom-coms have fallen in its ranks, and I think Himaten is just going to join them. There is still some hope that the characters do improve in the coming weeks, but we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, if you want to hear my first thoughts on Blue Box, way back when it started, click the video on the left, and if you want to hear my first thoughts on all the previous Shonen Jump titles, click the playlist on the right. If you want to hear our more thoughts on future series, consider subscribing, and if you watch till here, thank you very much, and I'll see you next video.